Welcome to Tales TV, where every story has a soul. Dive into a world full of emotions.
It had been exactly 2 years, 4 months, and 11 days since Maya signed the divorce papers. Not that she was counting. At least not consciously. But every morning when she poured her coffee in the same chipped white mug, his favorite, the time seemed to whisper back at her in memory. Time wasn't cruel, just persistent. It didn't scream. It reminded. Softly. Repeatedly. The air was different now. Calmer, quieter, a little colder maybe. The apartment had more light, more plants, more of her own scent. Lavender, sometimes vanilla, but it never felt as full as when someone else's breathing matched her own in the silence of early mornings. People told her she looked better these days. Glowing, they said. As if freedom did that to a woman. Maybe it did. Or maybe healing just looked good on skin, like makeup you couldn't buy in a store. Maya worked in a local art gallery, now small, stylish, never too busy. She liked it that way. Paintings didn't yell. They whispered too. And sometimes if you stared long enough, they told you things you weren't ready to hear. She had stopped checking Liam's Instagram 6 months ago. Not that he posted much. And not that she ever really wanted to go back. The love had ended like an overplayed song, beautiful once, then too familiar, and finally unbearable. No screaming matches, no infidelity, no late-night drama. Just two people who slowly stopped seeing each other. But endings don't always come with fireworks. Sometimes they come with forgotten birthdays and mismatched calendars. With leftover pasta on 2 plates and no appetite. And yet, love doesn't die the way people think it does. It fades, hides, buries itself in music, in the smell of cologne, in the way someone says your name. And when you least expect it, it stirs. That stirring happened one Thursday afternoon. Maya was adjusting a spotlight over a newly arrived canvas, a quiet piece, blue and gray hues, a single figure standing in the rain. It reminded her of something. Or someone. Maybe herself. The gallery bell rang, soft and delicate. She turned. He was there, but not Liam. It was someone else. He had eyes like unspoken poetry, quiet, knowing, and somehow full of everything Maya had forgotten she missed. He didn't look like someone from her world. He wore a navy scarf and a leather satchel. There was a calmness in his step, as if the city didn't rush him, and time was his to command. "Hi," he said. "Is this painting new?" His voice was warm. Low. A little gravelly. It felt like a song she wanted to hear again. Maya nodded. "Yes, just came in this morning." He stepped closer to the painting, then to her. "It's beautiful. But sad." "Most real things are," she said, surprising herself. He smiled. And just like that, the conversation began. His name was Aidan. A writer recently moved to the neighborhood from Dublin. He said he liked quiet spaces, the kind that held stories behind walls. The kind that let him breathe. Over the next few weeks, he came back often. Sometimes just to look at that same painting, sometimes to bring coffee. Sometimes just to see her. He never asked too much. Never probed. But he listened. And Maya, who hadn't opened up to anyone in years, found herself talking, not about Liam. Not at first, but about the way she used to paint before life got too busy, about how she once dreamed of going to Italy, painting street musicians in sunlit buildings, about how she stopped painting because it hurt too much to fail. Aidan never tried to fix her. He just sat there. Listened. Sometimes he'd share something of his own, about a short story he never finished, about a childhood memory from Galway, about the first time he fell in love and how it never left him completely. He made space for her silence, and slowly. She began to trust it. It was a Tuesday when he finally asked her to dinner, not a flashy date. Just a cozy bistro nearby. Candlelight, soft jazz, clinking silverware. Maya hesitated. It had been years since she went on a real date. The thought of dressing up, choosing a dress, wondering what to say, it felt heavy. Like old shoes that didn't fit anymore. But when she saw the way Aidan looked at her, not like she was broken or fragile, but like she was someone unfolding, she said yes. The dinner was simple. They laughed. A lot. Talked about books, memories, fears, the things that go unsaid. At one point, she told him about the divorce. He didn't flinch. He didn't ask for details. He just said, "Sometimes love needs a second draft." She blinked, surprised by the gentleness of it. Surprised by the way it didn't hurt as much to say it aloud. After dinner, they walked. It started to rain, not heavily. Just that soft, movie-like drizzle that makes city lights shimmer and streets smell like memories. Aidan didn't offer his jacket. He didn't pull her close. He just walked beside her, and that, somehow, meant more. They reached her building. She paused at the door. Heart uncertain, thoughts loud. Aiden looked at her and smiled. Good night, Maya. He turned to walk away. She watched him leave, and for the first time in a very long time, she felt something stir, not the ghost of a past love, but the gentle breath of a new one, warm and real and close. She went upstairs, kicked off her shoes, and smiled to herself. The next morning she painted. It was rough. Messy. Imperfect. But it was hers. She didn't text Aiden. Not yet, but the brush strokes on her canvas spoke more than words, and somehow she knew he'd understand. Aiden didn't come to the gallery for 3 days. Not that Maya was counting, except she was. She found herself looking toward the door every time the bell chimed. A quiet flutter stirred in her chest, like a question she wasn't ready to ask. By Friday afternoon, she told herself it didn't matter. Maybe he got busy. Maybe it was just one dinner. Maybe that was all it ever was supposed to be. But when she locked up for the night and stepped into the cool breeze of early evening, there he was leaning against the lamppost across the street, coffee in one hand, a book in the other. He looked up and grinned. Hey, he said casually as if no time had passed. She crossed the street, arms folded. You disappeared. I didn't want to rush you, he replied. You've built something peaceful around yourself, Maya. I didn't want to knock on the door too hard. She looked at him, unsure what to say, then she smiled. Next time, knock. Gently. That night they didn't go to dinner. They walked. Through backstreets and little courtyards filled with ivy and shadows. They talked about nothing in particular, how tea in Ireland is practically sacred, how she used to play the piano when she was a child, how the moon looked different depending on who you watched it with. She didn't know when her hand slipped into his. Maybe it was during a silence. Maybe it just made sense. There was no kiss that night. But something passed between them anyway, soft, electric, promising. Over the next few weeks, they became a rhythm. He'd bring her lunch on gallery days. She'd read his drafts, leave little notes in the margins. He took her to quiet bookstores and out-of-the-way cafes. She showed him her half-finished canvases, her unfinished poems, the boxes of old letters she never sent. They didn't call it love, not yet. Maya had learned not to rush names for things that mattered. But there was a moment, one of those quiet, cinematic kind of moments, when she realized her heart had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. It was raining again. A small storm. They were stuck under an awning, soaked from the waist down, laughing, and Aiden, out of nowhere, looked at her like he saw every version of her at once, the broken one, the brave one, the lost girl trying to find her own reflection, and still wanted her. She didn't say anything, but something in her chest exhaled for the first time in years. That night, they kissed. It wasn't perfect. Their noses bumped. Her hand trembled. But it was real. And in that moment, real was better than perfect. Days passed. Then weeks, and then something unexpected happened. Liam called. It was a Sunday morning. Maya had just finished watering her plants when the phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Hello. Maya, came the voice she hadn't heard in years. It's me. There was a pause. Too long. Too familiar. I'm not calling to cause trouble, Liam said. I saw your photo online. The gallery's website. You look happy. She didn't know what to say to that. I'm back in the city, he continued. For a bit. I thought, maybe we could talk. Maya stared out the window into the soft gray of morning. I don't think that's a good idea, she said quietly. Maybe not, he replied. But I think about you. A lot. I never really stopped. She hung up before he could say anything else, but the past has a way of showing up even when the door is locked. That night, she couldn't sleep. Aiden noticed. They were curled up on her sofa, her head on his chest, some old movie playing in the background. You okay? He asked softly. She told him. Everything, not just about the call, but about how the past sometimes wraps itself around your throat without warning. Aiden was quiet. Then he said something she didn't expect. Do you still love him? She looked up, startled. No, then why are you scared? She didn't answer, because the truth was she wasn't scared of loving Liam again. She was scared of letting herself love Aiden completely. What if it fell apart again? What if she was the problem? What if she broke this too? Aiden kissed her forehead. I'm not asking you for forever, Maya. I'm just asking for now. For this. She closed her eyes and let herself believe in now, but the past wasn't finished with her yet. 2 days later, Liam came to the gallery, unannounced. Quiet. Almost like a ghost. He looked older. More tired. But familiar in all the ways that mattered least. I'm not here to win you back, he said, hands in his pockets. I just wanted to say sorry. For not fighting harder. For letting us fade. Maya looked at him for a long time, then she said, "We didn't fade. We unraveled. Quietly. And maybe that's worse." He nodded. I wanted to know you're okay." "I am," she said. And meant it. Liam left without asking for more. And that evening, she went to Aiden's apartment for the first time. It was small, filled with books and candles and mismatched pillows. He made her tea. They talked until the sky turned black and the city became a lullaby. That night, they made love for the first time. It wasn't rushed. Or perfect. It was honest. Raw. Beautiful, and afterward, as they lay tangled in quiet and warmth, Maya felt something she hadn't in years. Safe. She didn't dream of Liam anymore. She dreamed of rain and blue paintings and the way Aiden's hand fit perfectly around hers. Love after divorce isn't about replacing one person with another, it's about becoming someone again who can be loved. Maya woke up in the golden hush of morning, sunlight warming the edge of Aiden's sheets. He was still asleep, arm draped across her, breathing slow and steady like the rhythm of a peaceful tide. For a long moment she just watched him. His face half buried in the pillow, the faint freckles on his cheek, the way even in sleep he seemed to carry a kind of quiet hope. She'd once thought love had to be loud to be real. That it had to sweep you off your feet like Liam had. Grand gestures, promises carved into stars, the thrill of newness. But now she understood something softer. Something deeper. Love wasn't always fire. Sometimes it was light through windows. Sometimes it was hands that never pulled away. Sometimes it was someone asking, "Are you okay?" and waiting for the whole truth. Still, peace has a way of attracting storms. 2 weeks later, Aiden got an offer to return to Dublin for a teaching residency. 6 months. A prestigious opportunity. He hadn't applied. It was a referral from an old mentor. Unexpected. Tempting. He told her the night he found out, nervously twisting the hem of his shirt like a teenager unsure of the answer he was about to receive. "I haven't said yes," he said, watching her face. "Because I don't want to leave this." Maya's heart did a strange thing, twisting and swelling at the same time. "Then why are you telling me?" she asked. "Because I don't want to stay for the wrong reasons either. And you deserve to know everything." Maya sat quietly, fingers wrapped around her tea. "Go," she said finally. Her voice was steady. "If you stay out of fear, you'll start to resent it." "Resent me?" "I won't," he said quickly. "I couldn't." But she just gave him a sad, knowing smile. "I've been there, Aiden. Resentment grows in silence." He reached for her hand. "I don't want this to end." "Then don't let it," she whispered. And for the next 2 weeks they lived like people trying not to count the days. They visited all their favorite places, took photos of nothing and everything, made lists of books to read while apart. They kissed like people who knew what goodbye tastes like. When Aiden left, Maya didn't cry at the airport. She smiled through the ache and whispered in his ear, "Come back to me." He looked at her like she was gravity. "I will." And then he was gone. The days afterward were quiet. Too quiet. She painted, but her brush felt heavy. She walked the city alone and heard echoes of his laughter in every corner. She read his messages at night and replied with words that tried to feel full. Even when her chest didn't point one night, she found herself in the cafe where they'd first talked. The one with the old red lamp and the crooked table by the window. She ordered tea and stared out at the rain across the room. A young couple was laughing, leaning into each other, a tangle of knees and fingers and stories just beginning. She remembered what it felt like to be at the start of something. The rush. The possibility. But she also knew something deeper now, what it meant to choose love after the rush. To hold on through doubt, through distance, through the temptation to run.it. Was 6 weeks before she saw Aiden again. A surprise. No warning. She was in the gallery restocking prints. The door opened, the bell chimed, and her heart knew before her eyes did. He stood there in the doorway, damp from the drizzle, suitcase in hand, eyes wide and unsure. "You said come back," he said, breathless. "So I did." She ran to him, arms around his neck, her laugh breaking open into something that sounded like home. Later, he told her he'd turned down the second half of the residency, that he missed her more than he thought was possible. That teaching could wait. "I realized something," he whispered into her hair. "Home isn't a place for me anymore. It's you." They didn't rush anything after that. They moved in together months later. She painted with more color. He started a writing group at a nearby college. They argued sometimes about silly things, about serious things, but they always returned to each other. Always chose love, even when it felt hard. And one evening, as they sat on the floor of their tiny flat surrounded by candles and laughter, Aiden pulled out a small velvet box and oh, grand speech, just this. You don't have to say yes now. Or ever. I just want you to know whatever shape love takes for you, I want to be in it. Maya looked at him, at the ring, at the life they'd built with trembling hands and quiet hope. Then she whispered, yes. To the love. To the life. To you. There was no applause, no music. Just two people who knew what it meant to lose. And chose, despite everything, to love again.